welcome guys. Today is going to be an awesome webinar. We have the one and only Chris Chico himself, Godfather of Virtual Wholesaling. Guys, I remember when I first got in the game back in like 2015, I went on YouTube to go learn how to build cash buyers lists and do stuff like that. And some of the first videos I came across were videos from Chris. And a lot of the first strategies and tips and things that I learned on that have now like indirectly resulted in building InvestorLift. I learned from Chris. He's one of the most knowledgeable people in our industry. Chris, how long have you been virtual wholesaling for, or wholesaling in general?
I started wholesaling in 2000 and I think it was 2003, and I say virtual wholesaling around 2000 and I think 5. If I would date myself, it was before Google Street View.
That's absolutely incredible. Awesome. Well, today we're going to be talking about Facebook. Something that's interesting. The reason why I really want to bring Chris on here is, I talk to InvestorLift teams all day long, every single day, and one of the things that I'm not super knowledgeable on, but I know a few InvestorLift teams have been doing really well with, is using Facebook to generate motivated seller leads. And I've talked to a few teams. I've heard the same thing over and over again. I couldn't figure out Facebook until I talked to Chris. Chris showed me exactly how to do it. And since then, I've been crushing it, generating tons of motivated seller leads at a very low cost off of Facebook. So I reached out to Chris a couple of weeks ago. And I said, hey, would you be willing to come on office hours and just give us like a 1-hour crash course on some of the tips and strategies that you use to actually crack the code on Facebook and generate motivated seller leads. So guys, it's gonna be awesome. I know I'm excited for this. I haven't seen any of this before, but I'm super stoked to learn from Chris. Chris has been super kind. He's in the InvestorLift family, same as all of you. He uses InvestorLift to move his deals. And he's gonna be on here for the next hour, giving us an hour of his time, teach us exactly the playbook that he uses to generate thousands and thousands of motivated seller leads. So switch things over to you, Chris. Welcome, and thank you so much for coming on today.
Well, thank you for having me on. I was going to joke and say that when you were first getting started, you went on YouTube to try to find good information. There wasn't any, just my videos, and that's how we got started. But I appreciate the opportunity. And what I have here, and I'll share my screen in a moment. I don't have like a PowerPoint presentation. What I did is I put together, because I for the most part, and you tell me if I'm making the right assumption, everybody here is pretty much already doing deals, right? There's no newbies here. Yeah. So what I try to do is put together a Google Doc that then I can always share with you also, so that you can share with the community, that gives it just lays out exactly what we're doing, in terms of what's the infrastructure that we have, what are some of the results, so they have an idea of what the cost per lead is, and just how it all works, and peel back the curtain. And I'm open for questions. So I don't know if you want to ask questions, or as I'm doing it, if people are typing in their questions and you want to interrupt me, feel free, because this is not a scripted presentation by any means.
Yeah, we like to keep these things casual. If people have questions, feel free to jump in or drop them in chat, whatever. I did allow to talk on everyone that's on the call, so feel free to jump in, guys. This is all about just like getting together as a group and learning. So awesome. Well, thanks so much, Chris. So
yeah, you got to share, if you would allow me to share my screen.
Yeah, let me go ahead and allow you. Give me 1 second. Okay, you should be good to go.
Let me see if share screen. And let me know. You should just see a Google Doc.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
So I put this together this morning for you guys. And I did it again specifically understanding like who everybody is on this call. And again, as I go through it, feel free to ask questions, type in your questions, and more than happy to clarify anything. So in terms of big picture, why Facebook? If most of you are doing PPC, there's no reason why you guys shouldn't be doing Facebook ads. I think, most of my customers in the education space are beginners. So we help new people get started with their first deal. Specifically, we use Facebook, and we start with Facebook because despite its idiosyncrasies, I believe it's an easier, more forgiving platform to work with. But if you guys are doing PPC, Facebook is infinitely easier. Once you get it up and running, it's not that complicated. The the cost per lead is going to be lower. And there's some pluses and minuses around that, and I'll get into that. You are going to need to go through some additional more leads than you would with PPC. So if you're, if every 15 leads on PPC turns into a deal for you, you likely have to double that with Facebook. So you're going to have to deal with a higher lead volume in order to find deals. Excuse me. You're also going to deal with a client that's not as hot as a PPC lead, but there's some pluses and minuses with that. They're not as hot, so there's a longer sales cycle, but you're also getting people that are not really talking to a bunch of other investors. So there's a positive and a negative around that. So the benefit is that they're pretty much in the early stages of their process of trying to find a solution. And so it's just a different type of prospect and prospect avatar than the PPC lead. They're both different. Each of them have their pluses and minuses, but I think it's definitely a lead source that everybody should consider. So I'm going to go through kind of what our basic infrastructure for Facebook. Like I'll go through what we're using for a website, how we're collecting data, and everything else. Then I'll get into like the specifics of, okay, here's some metrics around the leads, how much we're paying per lead, etc.
Yeah.
And then I'll get into some of the campaign structure, how we structure the campaigns, and then I'll also show you some of the ads that we run, how we run them, and etc. So in terms of website, our main website, and I would ask you, just as I'm showing you, just don't go fill in forms, because if you fill in forms, then people will call you from my team, and it just, not that they're going to be mad at you, but then it unnecessarily creates leads for them. So we use a simple carried website as a front page. This is not the site that we send people to. It just happens to be that just a site that we use for a front facing. If a seller were to just type in the national property buyer, then they would get that. We also have another site, nationwide property buyer, but this is the main one that we use. So we run campaigns two different ways.
Question for you, Chris. You you get a seller site with InvestorLift. Have you tried that?
I know. I have to set that up. We're going to be testing.
You got to try that. You got to A/B test it. Let me know how it goes. I think your numbers are going to go through the roof.
I think I'm going to switch out the.
Just got started.
Yeah, the nationwide property buyer is going to be the InvestorLift site. So then, in terms of, there's two different ways that we run campaigns. Earlier this year, we were running really heavy with ClickFunnels landing pages, but then we switched over now to lead forms. So we kind of go back and forth. There's pluses and negatives. The negative with sometimes we do things because it's easier for our students. So we kind of have to, sometimes we don't do what's best for conversion, but we do what's best for us as the educator that has to also give something to the student that they can implement. So the lead forms is one of those things. So the lead forms, it's on the Facebook platform. So whenever they submit their data, they still are on the app. And then the reason why that's easier for the students is because when you go to landing pages, then you have to, the ideal scenario would be for you to send offline conversions back to Facebook. And so then that way they have all the data, because if you're using landing pages, they're modeling the data. So they're not getting back the data on who converted specifically on that prospect where they would be for lead forms. So the reason we're heavy on lead forms is because it's too complicated for a brand new investor to deal with all that stuff on the back end. So keep that in mind.
Gotcha.
So when we were doing, go ahead.
For more experienced guys, let's we got a lot of expert guys on the call. Do you find that landing pages do actually perform better? Like let's just say we remove the whole it's too complicated for beginners to have their own landing page, and just assume you're dealing with a professional. For a professional, would you recommend using the lead form, Facebook's lead forms, or would you recommend driving that traffic to a landing page and convert it there?
I mean, I'd recommend both. Okay. And when I get into, I have some stats that'll show you the differences between cost per lead on lead forms versus landing pages.
Love it. Awesome.
All right.
I'm jumping ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's perfect. Okay. So this is when we use ClickFunnels. This is the landing page that we use. It's a very simple landing page. There's no navigation. It's only designed around one thing and one thing only, for them to click on the button. And when they click on the button for the landing pages, we have been using Typeform. So unlike just having a form, just just a simple form, we're using Typeform, which is another service that then they click on the button here and it goes through all the questions that they would answer about the property. I think maybe some of you guys have seen that. This is used in the coaching industry. A lot of times when you're filling out an application for like a strategy session. So this is what we're using on the ClickFunnels page. So what happened is that with Facebook, the lead quality can be less than the PPC. So the way we counter that is by asking for more information, which does increase the cost per lead, but will give us a better quality prospect, right? So, so like the difference is like on sometimes if you're sending somebody on PPC on the landing page, you might just collect the basic information, and then on page 2 you collect the additional one. We kind of ask a lot up front because of the fact that we just want to mitigate having just bad lead form submissions. Right. So that's the landing page for ClickFunnels. Our business page that we advertise from is this one, just so you guys know. So there's 2 types of ways that we have advertised. One is through a corporate page like this, National Property Buyer, or we have a Chris Buys Houses. So we kind of flip-flop back and forth between the 2. I look at it as if you guys ever did direct mail, I used to do a lot of direct mail. So we would send out cards that looked very professional, but then we would send out cards that were very unprofessional. And we always got 2 different types of people that replied to each of them. So I look at it the same way. You can have a more professional site, but you can also have a site that is more personal, like Chris Buys Houses, and that will give you the same. We find that it's kind of equivalent, but many times it might give you a different prospect avatar just because they don't want to deal with a corporate buyer. They want to deal with more of a personal buyer.
That's really smart. Really smart.
Yeah. So that's the differences in the business pages. And then in terms of what we're collecting, in terms of information, we're collecting this: the name, phone number, email address, the address of the property, the best time to call, the occupancy. So the best time to call, the reason we ask that question is because you have to think about the intent. When somebody's on PPC, they're on the computer and they're in a hunting mode. They want to solve that problem now. When we catch them on Facebook, for all we know, they might be right in the middle of taking a crap in the toilet. Who knows? They might be at the grocery store. And so you're ready. I always say that with Facebook, their desire to sell is here and your desire to buy a house is here. So you're equal. With Facebook, sometimes your desire, you wake up every morning wanting to buy a house, that prospect today is here. So there's a bit of mismatch. And so that's why a lot of times you get people that you get ghosted on Facebook. It's not, especially if you ask for a lot of information up front, they're not like zombies that just for the shits and giggles that they enter all kind of information into random web forms across the internet. Like there was intent there, but it just happens to be that you're trying to get a hold of them when they're not ready to talk to you. So a lot of times that's how I explain to my students is today you wake up wanting to buy a house. Today, their problem that they're trying to solve today is not to sell their house because they got a lot of other problems going on with their life. So we ask for what's the best time to call to also get an idea of when is the best time to call, because we suffer on Facebook. Sometimes it's difficult to get a hold of people for the reasons that I just mentioned. We ask for the occupancy, the timeline, the current condition of the property, the repairs needed, and the ultimate goal. So I'll share with you here. This is just, I'll click on here. This is just an example of the type of information. I have this from a Google sheet, but I couldn't share the entire Google sheet. But what we do is whenever we have incoming leads, they get sent to a couple of different places. They get sent to the CRM. They get sent to a Slack channel that we have that we keep. It's like a ticker file, a ticker Slack, which just shows all the leads coming in. And then we also send them to an Excel sheet, which then allows us to kind of look at all the leads in total and maybe do some pivot tables, et cetera. But, people do fill out all that information. They give you as much as you can. And then the other part of this is that because you're dealing with a higher volume of leads, then obviously having more information helps because then you can prioritize them based on the information that they give you up front, right? Different than a PPC lead. So that's the information that we collect, and we collect that either regardless if we're using a lead form or if we're using a landing page, right? Now, in terms of numbers, this is where we're just giving you some stats. And so I'll give you an example. This is data between June 1st to November 11th on conversion campaigns. So this is campaigns that were sending traffic to ClickFunnels landing page. All right. So then now for this particular set of campaigns, we spent $30,000, $242, generated 1,389 leads. The cost per lead is $21. So obviously you're going to get a much lower cost per lead on Facebook than you would on PPC, but you do have to deal with a larger volume of leads. I think, this is the impressions were over 1 million. CPM is $17. So generally speaking, so these campaigns are all run nationwide. And I'll get into the targeting, but just for context sake, obviously the CPM is going to decrease the wider you go with a campaign. So generally we're looking at, $20 CPM is kind of our target. Now you can only judge that historically. So today you might look at your campaigns and at 12 o'clock, you might see $70 CPM, $80 CPM. You can't really look at the day. You have to just look at the previous days because that fluctuates depending during the time of day. So you can't. Gotcha. So that's historically. Our cost per click is $4.11. And then the CTR is measuring all of the clicks on an ad. So whether they click on the read more button, they clicked on anything they clicked on, then created an interaction, which is then measured by Facebook. So generally speaking, the wider the audience targeting, like say nationwide, we're going to see a CTR of somewhere around, our target is, 1%. As long as the KPIs are still in line, it doesn't matter. As you go smaller, let's say you wanted to target only the state. For example, if we target the state of Florida, then the state of Florida, the lead cost is going to go up to say $60 a lead or more. And then we need that CTR all to be higher, right? Because otherwise then it's going to be a problem. So, at the end of the day, it's a cost per lead that matters, but you look at other things. So for example, let's say you had a campaign running and it's running the last couple of days and you haven't had any leads come in. And then you look at historically and you see that your CPM is $80 CPM, even though you're running nationwide. Well, that's a sign that, look, this campaign is on a path to nowhere because, you're just paying way too much CPM. And so, so that's kind of how I look at those. But in the end, the big number is always the cost per lead. And so this is, okay, well, these are lead forms. I forgot this is, so just to give you, this is correct. So this is June 1st to November 11th. So then October 1 to November 11th, the reason I made that a shorter time span is just so you can see, okay, here's what it was from this time period. Is that number increasing or decreasing? So we are seeing that the cost per lead is increasing. So right now, from October 1st to November 1st, the cost per lead right now is $31.22, right? And so it is increasing, although the CPM is about the same. The CPC is a little bit higher. So we are experiencing a higher cost per lead now than normal with Facebook. Now, with the lead form, so you asked me about what the difference is. So the lead form conversion versus the conversion campaign, the same time frame. This was with a spend of $6,500, 218 leads. The cost per lead is $29. So the cost per lead difference between the CPL here and here, it's about the same. CPM is about the same. The CTR all is higher, but at the end of the day, this number is really about the same, and this number is really about the same. So to answer your question, we're really not seeing that much of a difference in that.
And the landing page could even be better because, with the lead form submission, it's just like, it's very easy. Like it's almost too easy where you may actually have much lower quality on the lead form submission than actual having the landing page submission.
I would say that if you had a choice and both were equal, then you'd want the landing page conversion because they have to go right. Now, the asterisk to that is that long term, ideally, you'd want to have be able to send offline conversions back to Facebook so that they're getting the entire data set. So, right. So this, it makes sense so long as you know that you can run them without it, but eventually you need to make sure that you have that. In terms of how that gets done, there's a bunch of, I can't get into that here, but I mean, there's a bunch of tools and integrations available and everything else. But that's really what you want if you want a landing page campaign. Now, the type of leads that we get, generally speaking, are most of the leads that we get are in the smaller towns and secondary markets. We don't get that many leads in the primary markets, right? So if you wanted to say target, like for example, I'm in Florida, I'm in Broward County. If I wanted to target properties here in Broward County, I would basically just give free money away to Facebook all day long. And it would just really be a struggle. So when we're advertising, we really are getting, for the most part, smaller and secondary markets, not primary markets. Like we have a deal right now that we have on the contract in Miami Beach on a condo, but that's the exception, really. The majority of the leads, 99%, are in the smaller towns. So we get a lot of what I call scratch leads. So you have to be okay with getting leads that they're just a small little house in the middle of nowhere. There's nowhere around there, and there's no buyer to be found for miles and miles around. Typically, we just throw them away. We'd even call them, right? Just because we consider them scratch leads.
What percentage do you think that is? Like if you got 10 leads in through a Facebook campaign, what percentage do you think are going to be scratch right off the top?
I would say out of 20 leads, there's at least 2 to 3 leads there that are kind of scratched, like
10-15%.
Yeah,
it's not
there's
too bad.
Different layers, right? So there's leads that you look at, and right away you look at it on, and I could share with you some examples so we can kind of go through some things on Zillow too as well, on some active stuff that we have. But there's leads that right off the bat that it's not even worth it. Now there's also then there's next layer are the leads that you're gonna sort through. You're gonna do some initial looking on Zillow and just to see, like, you have an inkling that there might be something there or not, but you have to do a little bit of research. So that's going to bring that number down. So let's say if we get 20 leads, there's probably, I would say when all said and done, there's probably like 10 viable leads out of that bunch.
Gotcha.
By the time you trickle down, you continue to trickle down, right? Yeah. And then, so this I showed you here. So, and we can get what I'm trying to do is maybe going through like more of a broader scope, and we can, I can show you my ad account. I can show you whatever it is that you guys want to see and give you more detail, but I'm kind of giving you like the broad scope of things, right? And we can dig into anything else. In terms of the ad copy image, I don't know if you guys know, but you can go to pretty much any page. And when you go to a page like this, you will look for page transparency here. See what section that says page transparency. And when you click on that, now sometimes this will appear here, or sometimes that might appear in the upper menu here. When you click on here, you see all, and then you can go, and if anybody's running ads, you can just go to the ad library and be able to see what ads are running. Yeah.
I like that. So you can go look up any competitor and see all their ads.
Yeah. Now, however, this is inaccurate because I'm going to show you these are not all the ads we're running. So you get some, sample. But there's stuff when I show you, like, you're going to see that, there's ads missing from what we have. All right. But you can get a flavor for things in terms of what's being run, etc. Now, in terms of ads, this is like an example of, so we run what I call dynamic ads, where you take, and in one ad, you take and you put in some images, you put in some text, and then you create this set of combination of different images and ad text, etc., so that then Facebook can serve it depending on where it sees it's having the best results. So generally speaking, depending on the traffic you're running, you don't want to get too out of hand with the number of variables, right? We call them permutations, right? So generally, we try to say 6 to 8 permutations. And so meaning that this is a permutation. So this is one variable, the headline. Another variable is a primary text. So we tend to stay with minimal permutations on the text, and then really mostly focus on the images in order to split test those, right?
Okay.
And so this is
the
an example.
idea there is like the image is probably going to be the one factor that probably impacts
Yes,
conversions the most. You don't want to have too many. You want to have factors that you're putting in so that you can optimize and boost your conversion, but you don't want to have too many. Otherwise, it's going to take too long. It's going to split your traffic too far.
yeah, exactly.
Take you too long before you actually get some actionable results.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
So then now in terms of images, the one, it's funny, the image that outperforms everything, no matter how much we try, is this image.
Wow.
So we have different versions of that. So we have versions that just kind of truncate the image. You see how this one is different, houses wanted, because it also depends on where they're looking at it, right? If they're looking at it on Instagram versus the feed versus mobile, then that changes, the whole structure of it. But interesting enough, like this is, no matter how much we try, that's the best performing image, houses wanted.
Wow.
So
cool.
We tried other things, like for example, these other ones. It's funny because they're really horrible looking. They like you would think that somebody signed up for design school and failed horribly, and right, because the color scheme and nothing matches. But these do well for us. It's just a simple we buy houses. What you would normally find, but we deliberately make the color schemes really stand out, right? Because at the end of the day, they're flipping through that news feed. And what we want is just for them to stop the scroll and be able to look at the ad and see if it matters to them. Then they'll go to that next step. And one like this was just a hammer. We tried fancy stuff like this one here you can't see it, but it's a video that shows the fire, like the plugs and then the fire. And we tried video many times, and it doesn't perform well for us. We have clients though that do the videos in person, right? Meaning that you take the phone and you say, "Hey, my name is Chris, and I'm looking to buy 2 or 3 houses, etc." Those for some of our clients work really well. The only reason we don't do that for our courses is because it adds more complexity, right? I mean,
gotcha.
If you do on video, then you got to sound high energy. You got to sound like this. You can't look like a bum off the street. Otherwise, it's not going to really be that effective. So that creates a barrier. So it's easier to just create the images and start with that versus the video. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's interesting that you say this, because I remember I was talking to a tech CEO that did their company was like embedded videos for email. So like if you wanted to like respond to a client, you could like just like click this button and it would like record a video and pop it in there. And they said that they did a lot of tests on different types of videos to see what would actually get the highest open rate. The highest open rates, they tried professional, like looked at like what open rates were on and view rates were on professional like studio videos and everything. The highest views and the most engagement they got were off of people just holding their cell phone while walking outside.
Yes.
Like there's got to be a movement. It's got to be outside and just holding the phone, and that just crushed it.
The term for that is user generated content, kind of like that feel where it's not professional. And the other thing to consider is that, and I don't have this here, but if you are recording, if you are creating a video for the house business and say you're putting all those videos together in an ad, right? So you're using dynamic, which is combining a bunch of video assets and different assets. Then you should record 2 versions of the video. You record a version horizontally like this, but you record a version like this, because then Facebook will automatically serve this video on the Instagram feed or the Facebook feed more appropriately, depending on the user's device that they're watching. Because if they're watching on desktop, it's going to be different than if they're watching on. So that's a quick tip. The other one is if you guys have seen, there's a clip. I don't have this here. Clipscribe.com. If you ever seen those videos where they have the banners up at the top,
that's good.
and then the thing at the bottom. So this is a great site. You guys can go and just record a quick video on your phone, and then upload it there. And the pricing is very affordable. And then it'll auto generate the captions. and then you can put a headline up at the top that says, are you interested in selling your house, for example? And then now you have the ability to, because you have to consider the fact that a lot of times people are watching their phone at work. They can't have the video start playing. So they're just like watching it. So you got to have some sort of captions or something like that with the video so that they can actually read it if they are not able to turn up the volume. So ClickScribe is a great tool for that. And then, in terms of, so these are the different images. So let's say if I'm looking at one of the, I'm just curious if that was the ad library, but if we look at any one of the campaigns that we're running, I wonder if all of them are going to show. So this is, and I'll show you guys this here, but you can see that we have other assets here, but they're just not showing up in the ad library, right? Because we're always split testing, etc.
Yeah.
And I'll get into the interface in just a minute. So with the campaign structure, so the way the campaign structure works, just for anybody here who's not familiar, very similar to Google, right? You have the campaign, right? And then underneath the campaign, you have the ad sets. And then underneath the ad sets, you have the ads. So that's how it works in Facebook. In terms of the campaign, the one really important thing is when you have a campaign is you must always select the housing category. Same thing as Google pay-per-click. If you don't select that, you got problems.
You get banned.
Yeah. So
they'll shut down your ad account.
Well, you'll get your ad rejected, but and then you could just modify it and go through the approval process. But if you do that too many times, then you will get flagged and you will have a problem long term. And then in the campaign is where you select the housing category. You will select the country, which is the US, the type of campaign. So there's two types. There's lead generation, which is where they go to the lead form. And then there is the conversion campaign, which is the one that goes to the landing page. And then there's a thing here called campaign budget optimization. So we always turn campaign budget optimization on, and then we set the campaign budget. For these campaigns, we're running nationwide. There's two ways to run a campaign. One of them is a daily budget, and the other one is a lifetime budget. We generally get about the same results. With a lifetime budget, the benefit would be that, similar to Google, if you have a day where it doesn't feel that you're going to get conversions, you may not get that much traffic, but tomorrow you might get more traffic. So it kind of does that. But you haven't seen any sort of significant bump in the conversions or performance by doing that. So really, we pretty much run campaigns at $50 a day. So unlike Google, it's a fixed amount. Yeah, they might spend a couple cents, but they're going to spend your money today. Whenever we start campaigns, we generally start them, ideally would be you schedule the campaign to start at like 12:30 midnight. So it has the entire day. Worst case, you can always start them at 8 o'clock in the morning. I wouldn't recommend you starting a campaign, at, and this depends on your budget, but on a $50 budget after 12 o'clock, then we're just going to automatically let it run the next day. And then in terms of the ad set, the couple of things is, let me see what this one is. I was going to show you. Okay. So we do automatic placements. So automatic placements is where you just tell Facebook, show the ad wherever you want. That's pretty much what we do. Just because of the fact of the issues of iOS, then we're running that campaign just wherever Facebook sees fit. However, though, it's always recommended that, whenever you're running campaigns, for example, and then I'll just pull let me see if I can pull a sample of one of the ones here that's been running the longest, maybe. So we always want to do an analysis of the campaign just to see where the conversions are coming from, right? So for example, if I look at a campaign like this, I can do a breakdown on that campaign by the delivery and by placement, for example. And then sometimes, like right now, like if you look at this campaign, 21 conversions from the Facebook newsfeed, 12 have come from Facebook Marketplace, 4 from Instagram, 1 from Instagram Story. And if you can see, the majority of them are from the mobile app. So pretty much like, everything's on mobile now. But that's the reason why we do auto placements, is because we just allow Facebook to self-organize itself and determine where's the best place that it can grab a conversion, as opposed to, and that's what Facebook wants. Facebook wants you to give it as much leeway as possible when it's doing its thing. And then with Facebook, because of the issues associated with the whole iOS thing, when we're running campaigns, let me just pick one of these again, just so I can. Okay.
Are you able to explain that, by the way, with just a quick overview for people that aren't familiar with how the recent iOS update impacted advertising?
Yeah. So generally, like, everybody got really with Facebook, the way it works now with iOS is that when you're on the Facebook platform, if you watch a video on the Facebook platform, meaning you're on the phone on the Facebook app, then Facebook can pick up that data and know and understand what you're doing, and then they could supply that data to the advertisers. The minute you go off the Facebook platform, if you have selected on the iOS device that you don't want Facebook to track you, then Facebook doesn't know that you visited Zillow. Facebook doesn't know that you visited a home refinance site. And so then now that data is lost. If I'm offline and you selected that option as no, and I convert on your landing page, then Facebook may not know that I was the individual that filled out the lead form, which then doesn't allow the algorithm to then figure out what attributes I have that then they could potentially serve the ad to. So that's what that's what the whole iOS thing is about. And gotcha. So in the past, we would have different ad sets, and the ad sets is what determines the targeting, right? That's where you put the targeting in terms of what the geographic region you want and various things. So what we've done is consolidated them. And what we do is that we run two ad sets, really. We run an ad set that we take and we dump all of our interest into the ad set. And by interest, meaning somebody that visited realtor.com, maybe somebody that's a loan officer, real estate appraisal that maybe went to Zillow, et cetera. We group them all together. But then we have one ad set that basically has nothing. All it has is geography. And then we allow Facebook to self-organize itself. They both work. So sometimes we have campaigns where one is doing better than the other, but it doesn't in any way mean that the next campaign you build that you're going to have the same thing. It's really much of a crapshoot. So in order for us to give Facebook some data, but at the same time allow them also to have more of a free for all, then we just have two different ad sets: one that has all of our interest, and then one that doesn't have any interest at all. In terms of geography, I think this campaign, we just are selecting the whole country, US, United States of America. You can do this a couple different ways. So you can't, when you're using the housing category, you're not able to exclude states. So for example, if I wanted US, but I wanted to exclude Illinois or Oklahoma, for example, I can't do that. So the way that you can counter that is by grouping all your DMAs together, and then you can copy and paste all the DMAs into Facebook, and then now you're giving them all the DMAs. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So for example, if for those of you, like, you could take all the states that you're working on, and then supply them with, say you have 15 states that you're doing on PPC, then you could take all those, grab them as DMAs. However, though, the DMAs, some people do DMAs in an effort to try to see if they can eliminate the smaller little geographic markets. But the problem with that is that sometimes those DMAs are so large that you're going to get the small towns anyway, right? Yeah. So if you didn't want to do the whole US, then you could just pick your top 15 states, 20 states, copy and paste them, and do that.
Okay. Now, have you tried doing like a list of major cities, or it just gets too expensive?
We've done DMAs only because
of the DMAs, not cities.
Well, the DMAs we can copy and paste into the ad, so it's just easier for us.
Gotcha.
So that's one of those things where, like, we have to, like, one of those things but we have to kind of keep in mind the students. So if the students, if we give them like the cities to individually input, they would just fry their brains. So we give them a DMA list that they can just copy and paste and put it in there and then be done with it. Right.
Gotcha.
But you could do the individual cities if you meticulously gone in and put them in there. So that is one option. Yeah. And so then, so the campaign structure is just two different ad sets, right? And we don't right now. We're not retargeting hasn't worked out well for us. So retargeting is one of those things that has been impacted by the iOS. Because in the past, if you said, "Hey, I want to retarget somebody who visited my website and didn't submit the form," as an example, the challenge is that if Facebook doesn't know now, if Robert goes off platform and on his phone, he has a do not track and he goes and visits your We Buy Houses website, that data is not going to go back to Facebook. So the one thing that has been impacted with Facebook has been the retargeting, more so than anything else. Right.
Yeah.
No,
I know we have a few teams, the way that they were using Facebook pretty well previously. I haven't talked to them recently since the iOS update. Is they would start off with Google Ads, because Google Ads, you can buy intent, right?
Yeah.
You can buy like how to sell my house fast. Like, that person's high intent.
Yeah.
But then your landing page is only going to convert maybe 10% of that traffic. So the other 90%, you bought that intent, but you haven't converted them. Maybe the timing wasn't right. They got distracted, whatever. They'll go and then use Facebook to go hammer that Google Ads traffic with retargeting to re-engage them.
Yeah, so the effect of that strategy is minimized because of the whole iOS.
Because of iOS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the whole iOS thing. Exactly. And then in terms of the ads themselves, the ads themselves, we're using dynamic creative, which is where you take, and in this particular ad, we have 4 different images that we put in there. So we always put in our winners, and then we're always just cycling through things that we're testing to see if they get any traction, etc. But so far, despite all the money we spent, the signs always work the best, right? Simple.
Cool.
And then there's a primary text, which is what I showed you guys. This one here is much shorter. And then the headline. And then we generally don't put anything in description. The description doesn't show up that often on Facebook. It's only on certain placements. Sure. And so then for simplicity's sake, we're not even putting anything in there, because most of the time it doesn't show up. And then, you select your lead forms. And then the other quirk is this is something that catches a lot of people. When you're putting together the ads, you always want to double check your pixel, because a lot of times when you're copying and pasting, when you're duplicating campaigns, sometimes this will go unchecked. And so you'll be running a campaign wondering why you're not getting any conversions, but you don't have that selected, which means that it's not using the pixel data, which means that you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
So you always want to,
for people that maybe aren't familiar with Facebook, do you want to explain exactly what the Facebook pixel is and what it's used for?
Yeah. So what it is it's just a that's a good question. So the way that Facebook works is by collecting data. So it's like the pixel is like Facebook's version of a black hole that all it does is suck in as much as it can. So, if you think about every single website that you visit has a Facebook pixel. So whenever you visit that, because Facebook is, over the course of the years, everybody's incorporated it. So that means that every time you visit a particular website, Facebook now gathers that data. And it's interesting because, like, I've had instances where I had a friend that posted a picture of a dog, right? Because now Facebook has facial recognition, all this stuff that most people don't know, but they know that it's a picture of a dog. They know that it's a picture of, they know exactly what your images are, with our algorithm. And so I happen to just slow the scroll down ever so softly on that picture of my friend with the dog, and then continue on with the rest of my life. Next thing you know, I start seeing images of dog food, because on Facebook thinks that I have a dog and maybe I want dog food, right? Yeah. For me, I love it, because the other day I was looking for shirts. All I wear is black shirts. And next thing you know, I was looking for a bomber jacket, because that's and next thing you know, I was in heaven.
All bomber jackets.
I was seeing so many ads of bomber jackets. And I'm the kind of guy, I'm in advertising. So whenever an app asks me that, hey, do you want us to track? I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah. I want you to track every little.
Show me what I like.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever you want.
Funny. I've been experiencing that this week, really very intensely. Because it's interesting, because when you interact with certain things that might give you a higher customer conversion value, they start hitting you even hard. Like bomber jacket, that's a high price point,
Yeah.
So I posted last week. I did a video. I was at the Ritz-Carlton Dorado in
I saw that
Puerto
video.
Rico.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I posted that video and I put the location as Ritz-Carlton Dorado. Ever since then, literally my entire freaking feed has been Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure if I scroll down my feed, as soon as I see an ad, it's going to be for some like luxury resort.
Luxury hotel. You'll never be able to
yeah.
stay at the Motel 6 ever again.
No, like I'm just getting bombarded with all these
Yes.
luxury travel videos now.
Yes.
But that's cool. Like, that's awesome. It wasn't even that I hit their site. It's just I geotagged myself at that location. Just off that geotag, it picked up. Oh, interesting. Robert's on vacation.
Exactly. Exactly. The other
So
thing I was
cool.
going to mention, I was just trying to see if I had anything else here. Yeah, the other thing what I don't have in this document is also the let me just look at it here. I'm looking for the, let me see if I can pull it up here. The inbox. I was going to mention something about the inbox. Let me just do this. I have a compliance thing. So, even for me, everybody always has issues with Facebook. I always say that Facebook, complaining about issues with Facebook is like as if you are a fisherman in the Bering Sea and you complain that the water was too cold or that your hands were always brittle from the fish scales, right?
Yeah.
Meaning that you're going to have always problems. There's always nuances with Facebook related to like just getting accounts disabled and dealing with that. I mean, I have a bunch of business managers here, and I have one here that was disabled, like completely disabled me, and I can't advertise, and so I had to create a new one. It's just a nature of the beast. The one thing I would say is, anytime you get, now there's a couple nuances here. So, and I put this here. So number one is you want to be advertising from your business manager. You as an individual, if you go to business.facebook.com, you as an individual have an ad account. You don't want to advertise from that ad account. You want to advertise using your business manager as your main form of advertising. Let me see. Hold on. They move this around, and they're always moving the interface, which creates a problem for me because every time I create the course, then people complain that, that it's not the same. Everything looks different. So let me just look up here. Let me just navigate to what I need to show you guys. So the one thing is this: over to advertise from the business manager. Do not give your login to anyone. No one should have your Facebook login ever. If you want to give them access to something, you give them access through the business manager, because that's going to throw a flag, and you don't want that to be a problem.
Yeah.
You always want to turn on two-factor authentication. You can do that by text, or I use Google Authenticator. Also, if you haven't advertised on Facebook and you have a Facebook profile, personal profile that doesn't have a picture of you, so you don't go in groups, it's like a ghost. And then the next thing you do is open up a business manager, open up an ad account, and start slinging away on ads. They're gonna hit you with a flag, because like if you're not advertising on Facebook, make sure your personal profile has a picture. Make sure you've joined a few groups. Make sure you're having some interactions that look like a normal Facebook user, even though you may not like it. But in the end, you have to look like a normal human being. We have students like do that all the time. Oh, I haven't been on Facebook on years because I hate Facebook, but now I want to advertise. And then you come out of the blue running ads. They'll be like, whoa, what's going on over here? Who are you, and why, where you come from? And then the other thing is this: the last thing you want to do is, if you get your ad account disabled, meaning that, especially in the beginning, you're likely to get something that says, oh, your account has been disabled and you have a violation. The worst thing you could do is create a brand new ad account. The worst thing you could do is create a brand new business manager. What you want to do is you want to appeal. There's always a button to appeal.
Yeah.
And sometimes they say no, and then you have to appeal again. You have to keep in mind is that everything that happens in their system is all mechanical. There is very little human interaction. So you have to consider that, and you have to appeal. And sometimes people try to circumvent that. I heard this the other day, which made sense, Robert. And there's guys that all they do is run black hat stuff on Facebook. So all they do
Yeah.
is they always like their mom has an ad account. This person had an ad account. They're buying ad accounts, etc. Somebody said something the other day. It's like, look, Facebook is one of the most technologically advanced companies, right? With everything that they got going on. And like, don't you think that buried in their terms of service is a little line that allows them to every so often, when you're in the business manager, take your webcam and take a little image of you so that they know that you are the person that's supposed to be in there. Somebody said that. I was like, you know what? He's probably right.
I'll be
Right?
surprised.
Right. You're probably right. The last thing I want to talk about is the page. When it comes to, it's unfortunate. In our business, you're going to get a lot of trolls. So many of them. They
How
all
do you handle that?
They're all hating on us. We don't delete them because I think that sends a kind of like, if you start deleting, then that sends a bad signal to Facebook. I leave them alone, right? Yeah. So the other thing is, you're running ads. You can see it here. I don't want to, but these are all people that some of them are legitimate, right?
Yeah.
And then like this person here, I have 4 properties I need to sell cash offers for, and they're saying talk to a human. When did this happen? Is this today? Wednesday? No. What day is today? Oh, because
hot lead.
yeah. Well, we have an issue because I have to get with the team because they have not. We a little bit overwhelmed with because we have a lot of leads that we're generating, but then now we got a bucket of people in here that you have to sort through. Some of them are a waste of time, but if you're operating this, you have to look at your inbox, and then you also have to look at your comments too as well. And so that's something to keep in mind. But just know that for the most part, most of the comments that people leave are 95% of them are going to be like, oh, you sell to these people, you're giving your house away. These are, look at the hedge funds. And so, the comments are not that great. Oh, actually, you know what it was is that we have a lot of different accounts. So I was trying to get the, no.
By the way, Chris, have you ever tried Intercom?
No, I have not. That's interesting. So, for the landing page, right?
Intercom, no, so Intercom is actually customer support software. So I use it for managing all our customer support. But one of the things I really love about it is every single time there's like a new Facebook inquiry, it will check to see if that's an existing InvestorLift customer. And if not, it actually creates a lead and assigns that lead to someone.
Oh, interesting.
Which is really cool. And then there's like time to close, and you can do automated responses and like program logic and stuff. Check it out. It's super freaking expensive, but I'm going to give you guys, everyone, a hack here. Okay. There's something called Intercom Startup Program. This is such a big hack. This will literally save you thousands of dollars. Someone told me about this. I'm not going to share my screen. I just dropped in chat this link. Go ahead and click on that link. Yeah. So this, all you got to do is apply, and you get a 95% discount on Intercom.
Oh, wow.
It's insane.
That's interesting. Okay.
And this is like changed my life. Dan Schwartz actually taught me about Intercom. He's like, dude, get on Intercom. And I got on there, and the capabilities of it are just insane. But one of the things I love though is everything from Facebook feeds in.
So from the page, if somebody messages the page, it will grab it into Intercom.
Create a ticket, create a new lead.
Okay.
And then round robin it, or you can do different logic on who it gets assigned to. And then they can respond, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as they close it out, they mark it as closed, and you got all these metrics on like time to complete, total completions, customer satisfaction.
Okay, I gotta look at that.
It's really killer. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because the messages we're having a tough time, and then you look at this comment. I hear you on the scammers that are really something else. They will do anything to get money. So you have to. We go through these.
Then do you respond to them at all? Like, do you just try to respond nicely?
No, there's just too many of them. Parasite, flipper, scammer. So there's just too many. It's like zombies coming in through the door. At some point, you got like, we can't kill them all. There's just too many of them. So that's just funny. Sell your house without fixing it up by listing with an agent. And so anyway, they don't. But that I definitely love to answer some questions. And again, I did this for what I was going to mention for those of you Let me see. Does this? I can give you this here. Some of the links
Yeah,
here are not going to
awesome.
work because these links go in case I needed to. I'll remove these links so they go directly to my business manager, but you won't be able to access it anyway because you don't have access. But this is where I pulled the stats from, like the 30,000, etc. That's just in case I needed to reference that while you and I were talking. But I would remove these that are just direct campaign links, and I can give you the rest
That'd
of
be
this.
incredible.
Yeah,
that'd be absolutely incredible. I can share it on the Facebook group with everyone. Now, one of the things that I noticed, you actually skipped over it, but I thought it was actually a really key insight that I saw in your notes here, is so the Facebook game is completely different than Google Ads. Like Google Ads, when I run Google Ads, I want to be in the hot areas with the big 50,000, 70,000 K rips, like targeting those major cities. The first time I tried Facebook, I spent $55,000 in a major city in the DC metro area. And I only got about 35 grand back. And I was like, screw it, I'm not doing Facebook anymore. So it sounds like what you figured out is the way to do it is to do nationwide, but you have to keep in mind, number one, you might, out of 20 leads, you might only have 10 legit ones. And then number two, they're going to be in submarkets. So you might hit it on the big markets here and there, but most of the time it's going to be in submarkets. The one thing I saw on here that you mentioned, which I thought was really, really smart, is you look for leads with a major city within 30-minute drive.
Correct.
And then that's how you do it. That's how you sell them.
Correct. That's correct. And so then, because I was trying to see if I could, generally speaking, we want something that is no more than 30 minutes, right? In terms of the city. And then also within the same state, because sometimes in these small towns, they're kind of located near the state line, right? From another area. And then let me see if I can pull up real quick a sample property. Give me one second. In my CRM here, give me 1 second. It was one that we did just in, I don't know off the top of my head. We might, maybe as we discuss a few things, I have to message, oh, here it goes. I know which one it is. We did a deal in just recently in 197 Lacey Road in WHIGAM, Georgia. So like this is a very like typical type of situation where if you look at this on the map, like this is the town, Lacey Road, Wingham, Georgia. As I zoom out, there's Wingham is here. You have Cairo, which is here, that other town. But it's really a small little town in the middle of nowhere. And actually, when you look at here, the Google Street View is also an old one. You can tell that they hadn't been here in a while, right? Because you could tell, you see where it says the Google Street View 2008? That's the last time they were there. And I guess they didn't see it any use for them to go there again.
To go back again.
And generally what we do is that if I zoom out, right? What I'm looking for, and let me make sure that I don't have any filters here. But, in an area like this, Wingham is here on the left. There's not much going on, but you can clearly see that Cairo has a bunch of activity here. So we're looking in this scenario, and in this one in particular, this is the Florida Georgia line, but typically we try to not cross state lines if possible, unless it's like St. Louis. That area is like they're all kind of together there, but generally speaking, I think here we found the buyer in this one came from Cairo. And Cairo, distance-wise, if I go directions and I just type in the word Cairo, Georgia, I believe it's just 11 minutes away. Right. So the whole concept is that obviously the house has to make sense. It can't be a trailer park in the middle of the forest, that kind of deal. But if it's as long as it's a good house, then it's a good alternative for somebody that as a buyer that might want to live still close, but there may not be housing stock because everything is too expensive. And so they have to go 11 minutes away, but 11 minutes is not that big of a deal. Right. So a lot of the leads turn out to be that way.
Makes sense. And
Yeah,
by the way, I'm going to show you guys. I hope you don't
I'm
mind. I'm
gonna
going to switch
go
to my
ahead.
screen real quick. So, guys, what you could do on these leads. So, when the leads come in under leads, you're going to have the God mode view, but the God mode view at the lead level. So, if I open up like this property, it's going to be dropping the pin right on the property. So, on a deal like this, what you do is go under leads, and up at the top here, like find the city that's nearby, type it in here, click God mode quick search, and now I'm actually searching that nearby city that's 20 30 minutes away. Type it in here, and now I can see in this city we have 419 results. So if the deal is right here, whatever, and I got 419 buyers here, and some decent buyer scores here, like guys buying 56 properties, 51 properties. These are clearly investors like JD Royal Investment Properties. That would be a prime candidate right there. It's already skip trace
Yeah.
for you. This guy, he's doing one here, he's doing one here, he's doing one here. Like, there's clearly buyers for this. So you just got to get it at the right price.
Yeah. The other way to do this is I will go into that city on Google Maps and just find an address of a single family house that's in the city, like Cairo. And you can use that as a center point if you want.
There you go. Yeah.
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 So that's the other way. Yeah.
Love it. So it sounds like it's a process of just, you're going to have way more leads, way lower cost. I mean, I know in like major markets, some major markets, it's $500 a lead,
Right.
for the keywords. But now you're getting them for $25-$30, even if you throw half of them in the trash.
It's still a good cost per lead.
Still a good deal.
Yeah.
It's still a good deal. Now, have you run the numbers on return on ad spend and looked at, okay, like let's say in the last year, how much did I spend on Facebook ads? How much revenue I generate in assignments and hotels or whatever, and look at what the return on ad spend? Do you know ideally what kind of return on ad spend?
No, I mean, I can give you the answer is not 100% because like a lot of the ads here is because we're run for students, right?
Gotcha.
So we're missing data on that. We run some ads internally. Generally, what we're looking, our target is about $1,000 to $1,500 cost per acquisition.
Okay.
What we've been finding with students is generally it depends, but I would say on the low side 35, but more like 50 leads in order to get a deal. So 50 leads, $20 a lead, you're spending about $1,000. The challenge that I think most people will have is that you just have a lot, like if the volume, I think sometimes deters people because there's a couple of things that deters people. Number one, Facebook can be a pain in the ass to deal with. That is, and then the volume of leads. But then also, if you combine the volume of leads with the fact that a lot of these leads, unlike the PPC leads, it takes multiple times to get a hold of them. Like you got to be after them. So then all of a sudden now you have a compound effect of you got more leads, but you have more times that you have to get a hold of these leads. So then now that becomes a challenge.
Yeah. When you do get these properties under contract, what do you think the average assignment fee is for like your business or your students in general?
They tend to be on the smaller side than the PPC if you guys are running on the because of the fact that we're dealing with smaller markets, right? I would say that like that deal with Wingham, I think was a small one. We made 7,500. I think on the one I'm trying to think about. There's one that we just put together this week that was 10. So they tend to be around those numbers, 10, 15. If we get something in a more populated area, then we have a better chance. But they are smaller assignment fees.
Yeah, the interesting thing though is you're getting the deal so cheap. So if you're paying $1,000, $1,500 per deal, and then you're assigning at 10 to 15,000, I mean, it's still 10x ROAS, which is really solid. That's what like the top Google ad accounts get, 10x ROAS. It's more work to get that. One thought that I had on where I could see this being really useful in some of these really big teams is these really big teams, when they're dropping $500 a lead, you have a new salesperson that comes on the sales floor that's not proven.
Yeah.
You do not want them touching those Google ads leads. Like, no way. You got to earn your stripes first. What some teams have been doing is they'll have them text and mine for their own leads first. Okay. like on Tarek Moose's team, that's what they do. They got to come in and like they have 90 days to get their first like 3 deals off of texting. If you do that, then you get bumped up. Now we're going to give you the big boy leads. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you could do something very similar here with Facebook. It's like, hey, you're new on the team. You want to do some training? Okay. You're starting with Facebook. You're going to have to pound the phones. You're going to have to dive in and get through 50 leads to go get a deal. But when you do, if I'm a business owner, you're just 10x my money, right? Which is awesome. And it trains them and gets them used to it. If they burn a lead or screw something up, it's not costing me $500. It's costing me 25.
You're 100% right, because this is, I'll give you an example. This is because all of you guys are doing deals already, so this isn't relevant for you guys, but this is, we have a program that we help new investors. And the biggest problem that we find with new investors is that they need reps. They need to talk to humans, as many humans as possible. And so what we do is, that's what a lot of these campaigns are. We run, as part of the program, they come in and we run ads for them. We're like, don't worry about nothing. All you got to worry about is talking to sellers. And let me tell you, sometimes we listen to these calls and like, oh my gosh, like no wonder you spend 40 grand and you haven't done a deal, because you sound like nobody's gonna do any business with you. So so this, for getting reps, like this is our primary strategy with new people, because they need the reps. You know, we don't want them, you know, if they're running a PPC campaign and every lead is 500 and they sound like how they sound, that's gonna be a problem very fast. So you're 100% right on that. Yeah.
100%. Well, I got a question here that came in from Max Brutus. He says, for retargeting, is it worth it to just retarget for Android devices or non-iOS devices?
No, for retargeting, what I would do is just, there's no sense in excluding iOS. What you can do is, if you wanted to, you could have 2 different campaigns. If you wanted to, like, say, measure, okay, what the ROI is between iOS and Android. But I think you're splitting hairs, and generally those campaign budgets are really too small. I would just put the retargeting, create a retargeting campaign, just as big as an audience as you can, which means general retargeting, anybody who's visited your website, anybody that's interacted with your Facebook page, and then you put that into one audience. You give it like $5 a day, and then there's a metric inside of Facebook called frequency, and you just monitor that number. You don't want that frequency. You need that frequency, say, higher than, say, 1, because you need the ad to show more than once. But you make the frequency, like, you keep an eye on it, and let's say the frequency, if you're spending $10 a day and you see that your frequency is like 10, well, you're showing the ad way too many times to that person. You bring down the budget. So generally speaking, like with retargeting budgets, are relatively small, like $5 a day, and they'll give you a lead here or there. But you're never going to get, like, the producers of volume of leads are always going to be the campaigns that are continually going out there and seeking and finding new people.
Makes sense. Now, have you ever done anything where you take a list of like every lead that you've ever done, load in the emails and say, hey, create a lookalike audience? Have you experimented with lookalike audiences?
We tried that several. We tried a couple of different ways. We tried either uploading the list and serving the ads. With different conversion types. For example, there's, you can do conversion campaigns, but you can do a reach campaign. Reach campaign is, you tell Facebook, I don't want you to use any knowledge. I just want you to show my ads to these people no matter what. And we've tried all kinds of different ways. That didn't work. We've tried the uploading the list, creating, you can't create the special ad audience. You can't create a lookalike. It's called a special ad audience that you create as a derivative of that. But we've tried that. No consistency with it. And the thing is that we've tried that, and after a while, I'm like, man, I'm racking my brain trying to make this work. I could just run these campaigns the way I'm running them, let them run for until they just, eventually the campaigns, when you run them wide like this, they'll run forever. You have the ups and downs. Some days you might get 1 lead. Some days you might get 5. Another day you get 3, and it kind of ups and downs. But overall, you just leave them. And so then it's like, why bother with all that nonsense of skip tracing the list and uploading and all that stuff when we could just run these and that's it, be done with it. So that's kind of like our approach has been. But also keep in mind is that my filter is, I got to make it easy for my students. So
Mhm.
anything that gets complicated is a problem for me. So,
Yeah.
but it never really worked. We even tried video views. So like going in, like, for example, we tried this in Jacksonville and blanketing Jacksonville with like ads, video view ads, reach ads, everything, just like everything in the kitchen sink to try to get some some leads in Jacksonville in volume, and we weren't able to do anything. Yet we would
Interesting.
run we would run the state of Florida, and then we get leads in Jacksonville, leads in Tampa,
Mhm.
but never if we like hyper targeted it, like
Yeah.
never made it work.
Yeah. I think what's happening here is like people, a lot of people when they first get into like Facebook ads, they're thinking, oh, I can outsmart Facebook. But
Right.
like Facebook has so much freaking data, it's almost better to just like throw up like, hey, USA, go for it, Facebook. You figure out who's going to be the best leads and just let their AI just figure it out for you, because you're not going to be able to outsmart their AI.
Well, the thing to consider is that you're targeting someone. Let's say that Robert is a prospect for Facebook, and now I'm targeting him. So then that way, I can get like him to raise his hand. But the problem is that the weight loss, not saying you're fat, but say you're maybe want to exercise. So the weight loss guy is also targeting Robert. And then the flower guy, that because you want to send flowers to your wife, they're also targeting you. So it's an auction. So what's happening with the leads that we're getting is we're getting people that are not, we're getting the people that are not being bid on. Because who the hell is bidding on Cairo, Georgia? Nobody. So you're just getting the people that is like the overflow. You're getting the big lots. You're getting the clothes that nobody wants. But hey, you can make money from it.
Mm-hmm. That's really, really interesting. Yeah. I was talking to one team that was working on some new television ads. I used to run television ads back in the day, and it was kind of like pick your MSA and that's it. But the call we did with this television company, they were talking about how they can now target down to an individual household level. You have two houses across the street from each other. Okay. One house, guy pays all his bills on time, drives a BMW. The house across the street, exact same house, always behind on their bills, drives a Toyota. Like, this guy on this side of the street with a Toyota, he's seen credit card commercials while he's watching Survivor with his wife.
Right.
The guy on the other side of the street, he's seen commercials for De Beers Diamonds.
Right. Yes.
And they're watching the exact same TV program, literally across from the street from each other, and they're showing literally different TV commercials.
Yeah.
Based on
it's the same
all
thing.
the data they have.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing with Facebook. They're just watching different TV commercials.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I got another question here from Mary M. For those who did have a personal and business page and did ads in group and marketplace and got banned permanently, do you have any suggestions to get back on or start a new account?
Well, the thing to do would be is you need to create if you got an ad account disabled, you still may have the ability to then create another ad account in the same business manager. So that would be option number one. However, if your entire business manager got disabled, then you could create another business manager. I have one business manager that got disabled. I created a second one. And my setup is a little complicated because I got like 3 business managers, and I got a pixel I got one business manager that houses the pixels, and then and then they share that pixel with another 2. So that way, if all goes to hell, then I still have my pixel data, right? All is not lost. But you're allowed to create up to 5 different business managers. So you would just create another business manager. Ideally would be is you would go back and try to do your best to get back up. But now her comment was about she got banned.
She said she
on
doesn't
marketplace.
She said had no business or ad manager. So I'm guessing she was running them through her personal Facebook account and not through a business manager account. So she could just go in and create a business manager
No,
account.
I think it sounds like she had a business page and she got banned from Facebook Marketplace. So I don't know. It doesn't sound like it's what we think it is.
Potentially. This might be a conversation to dive in deeper.
It was a personal page, and I had a business page, and I did not have business ad manager. And it was advertising properties on the marketplace and free, and then in the groups. And so my whole account, the whole account, personal and everything, was banned. And I know this has happened with other investors too.
Oh,
So
so you're not
your entire Facebook account, like not just ad, like your whole Facebook got banned. Is that correct?
exactly.
Oh, okay. So are you able to, how do you get on Facebook now? Or you don't get on Facebook?
I have not.
Okay. So you would, I had a friend of mine that happened the same thing. And so you'll just have to, let me think about this for a second. Do you still have the same, since that happened, how long ago did that happen?
Almost a year.
And you still have the same computer that you used to back then, or no?
No, I have a new computer.
Okay, that's good. So what I would say is you'd have to try to create a brand new profile. And don't go out and create that profile and start running ads. You create a profile, you put your picture, you start liking pictures of cats and dogs and join groups and act like a normal, like you love Facebook and they're the best things in sliced bread. And then I would probably say you do that for just for a month or so. It could be less, but I would say just to be on the safe side, at least a couple of weeks, and then you should be okay. You should be okay. I had a buddy of mine that happened to. His whole personal profile got banned, and there's no way to get it back. There's no way for you to talk to anybody there, so you just have to just create a new one. But the fact that create it with a different computer, that's why I asked if you had a different computer, because your computer has a MAC address so they can identify you. So create it with a different computer than the one you were using before, because that'll create a different footprint.
So what about the IP address? Does that matter?
No, it doesn't. I mean, if you're using IP address, a lot of
they change all the time.
Yeah, they change all the time. Yeah. So it's not that big of a deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So it'd be better to do the personal, wait a little while, and then do a business page and then a business manager, or?
Yeah, I would definitely, you create to be on the safe side, create the personal account and then use it for 30 days. Try not to post on Facebook groups or, marketplace for deals, because that causes problems, and just act like a normal user. And then after 30 days, then go to business.facebook.com and then go ahead and create a business manager. So then they can start the process of advertising.
Oh, okay. So don't even join InvestorLift.
Well, you can join InvestorLift group. It's okay to join groups. Oh,
that's actually good.
Yeah, do what a normal Facebook user would, which is they join groups, they interact, but don't go crazy and go to cash buyer groups and start posting deals and going crazy and hogwash, because then they're gonna have the same problem.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know all that. I thought it was good to post everywhere. Facebook was free, and so, but I wasn't the only one. I have like maybe up to 10 people that I know that's also happened to. So
yeah, the whole marketplace thing is very problematic, I think.
Yeah.
Because you might just have somebody who's get pissed off at your post, and next thing you know, you got problems.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what happened. I have no idea, because you can't find out what you said. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate
No problem. No problem.
Yes,
question, Ray. Andrew Hooray, he's the investor cartel boss. He's on here. He says, need any help locking up those leads? Do you ever farm out your leads to other people to close, or do you close everything in-house, Chris?
No, I mean, we have an in-house right now. We have 2 acquisitions people. So now it's in-house. In the past, I was doing deal splits. I was doing deal splits with Alex Pardo, where I would send him the leads, and then they would close them. The only issue I found with that is that you really have to have like somebody you trust and somebody who has their stuff together, because otherwise then you can't track them. And then the problem with that is you don't have a quick feedback loop. Meaning that if I send leads to someone and they've been sending leads for 2 weeks, and then just now they tell me, oh, we can't get a hold of these leads. I'm like, well, I would have been nice to know that earlier. So, so the rest of the campaigns that we run that you see here are for our clients, because we run like a intensive for teaching new investors. And so we run ads for them as a way to get them, just get them leads.
Love it. Yeah. Awesome. I don't want to take too much of your time today, Chris. This has been absolutely incredible. I know there's probably people that have a lot more questions or want to learn more, want to like maybe haven't tapped into Facebook and want to tap into Facebook as an additional channel for high volume of motivated seller leads. If people wanted to learn more, I think you have a couple like longer trainings that you offer. Are you able to share any information about any of that? Or also for people, it sounds like you do some managed Facebook.
So a couple of different options. So and I normally don't do this. So no, we have an academy that is really we teach investors how to do Facebook, how to do PPC, and nationwide, and it's really tailored around new investors, right? However, the core training in there is on Facebook that anyone could use, both experienced and beginners. So what I did is I did it, and I have the link here I can give you guys. If you guys I assume that you guys already are doing deals, so you don't need training on how to get your first deal. But maybe if you were interested in just the Facebook training itself, just that piece there, then they can go to flipanywhere.com/Robert. And that link, there's not a sales page because it's not something that we sell like that normally, but it's just for the Facebook training. The academy we sell for $14.97. That's the big thing. But if you guys just wanted the Facebook training, then you can purchase just that. And that includes everything. It includes all the tutorials on how to do the ads, includes all the images and all the ad copy and everything you need in order to get up and running. And also included is a group that that is about 2,200 people that are everyone just doing Facebook ads. And so all that is there. So what I've done is just assuming that everybody here, you guys already know what you're doing. Maybe you just want that Facebook portion of it. Then we normally don't do that. But so I just took that part out of it. And then when you guys order, then you'll get a login to the membership area. And then everything is there. Everything is there in order for you to get it up and running, all the tutorials. So even if you've never done it before, you'll be able to get it up and running.
Love it. It's like, dude, it's so $4.79. That's a no-brainer. Like, I think it makes sense. Even if you're crushing on Google Ads or whatever, like $4.79, I think it's worth, go learn. The only people I know that are actually getting deals off Facebook, all learned it from Chris. So I know that this is legit. I think actually there's a few people on the call that actually have already done your course, have gone through it. Guys, if you've done this, do we have any people on the call that have already done it? Just drop in the chat. I know Calvin used to work with you, right? Calvin?
Yes. Calvin and I go way back. We had an opportunity to work together. And this was many years back. So very cool. Nice to see you, Calvin. I see you moved to New York now.
Yeah.
Calvin, how are you, buddy?
Good to see you guys too. Chico, long time.
I know. You moved to New York now, it seems. I saw from your post. Did you?
Yeah, I'm living in New York City. Chico and I worked together for about 18 months, and I was his acquisition manager. Quick story, he sent out an email. He said, I'm looking for an acquisition manager in South Florida. I opened up this email. I immediately knew all the answers to write in. We met up at a Starbucks. I was sitting in a Publix shopping the supermarket in the parking lot. And Chico calls me and says, well, I've interviewed a few people and I've decided I want to work with you. And I knew at that moment my life was going to change. Boom.
Well, awesome. I appreciate that, man. I'm always happy and I appreciate that and just happy to be a part of that. Happy to be a part of that.
More relevant to this, I have been through Chico's Facebook course. I actually bought it, even though we work together. I buy all his stuff and I highly recommend it. I recommend it, especially if you haven't done Facebook ads. It's super simple because remember, you're teaching this for people who aren't even doing deals. So if you're doing deals, I respect that Chris works with newbies. It's not that easy to teach somebody going from not knowing anything to learning to do deals is impressive. So if you're doing deals, you can run ads. It's very simple.
Yeah. What I love about it too is it seems so much more set it and forget it than Google Ads. Google Ads, you got to be in there every day, tweaking and adjusting bids and watching your keywords and building your negatives and building your positives. This is like, Target USA, put up the billboard, put in your headlines, let her rip. and
Yeah.
just get consistent, cheap leads every single day. So I think it's an absolute no-brainer to add to your marketing mix. Andrew Hooray, he says, we were just talking about adding another inbound marketing channel 2 days ago in our WIN meeting. Chris, thanks so much for taking the time to share. So Andrew, it sounds like you and Reese are going to get plugged in here and get that rolling. Share with us how things go. I'm sure I can connect you guys as well, Chris and Andrew, if you guys want to connect.
Yeah, 100%.
After this. Andrew runs one of the top teams in Pennsylvania / Maryland markets. They're doing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of assignments every month. So I'm sure this will be a good one for you, Andrew.
Yeah,
guys, I got to jump off here and jump on our call in 3 minutes. But Chris, I want to thank you for coming on. This has been absolutely extraordinary. Any final thoughts or anything finally you want to share for us before we?
No, I mean, I think that everybody here is on the right page. And by that, I mean that, nationwide, expanding your service area and just a tool that you provide. And I'm all in on digital. I used to be a postcard guy. I used to send a lot of postcards, and there's no more postcards. There's none of that.
No.
And it's all digital. And the other thing I would say is that, look, it benefits everyone here, I think, even if you're going to have somebody handle it for you. It benefits everyone here to learn it. Because when you learn it, then even if you want to have somebody else do it for you, you're better able to manage it. Also, once you learn one platform, the others become easier. Because whatever happens with Facebook, if you wanted to run TikTok ads and you figure it out, hey, I want to test that. It's like the interface, they're very similar. The mechanics of it, the language is the same. It's just a little tweak here or there. So I just think in general, I think it's a good long-term investment for anyone that's in business as an entrepreneur. And we're all entrepreneurs. We just happen to be the real estate business. It benefits everyone for you guys to learn digital marketing. There's no, whether you learn it from me or you say, Chico, I hate your bald head. I hate the way you talk. Fine. Go learn it somewhere else because it's going to serve you well.
Yeah. Love it.
That's my final parting words. And what I would do is say is this, for anybody that wants to jot down, I don't want to say, I'm going to give you.
You drop it in chat, because this might go on YouTube. This could go on YouTube. So
I'll put it on chat.
If you have contact info, drop it on chat. And then
I'll put it on chat real quick here. If you guys, because you guys are on the call, if you guys wanted to reach out to me, send me a message. You have any questions, anything, just shoot me a message. Actually, I needed to send it to everyone. So let me just send that to everyone.
There you
Don't
go.
put that on the internet. It would be a problem for him.
I made that mistake. The first demo I did with Dan Schwartz, I put my public phone number on it. I was getting 400 calls a week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, I changed my phone number.
Yeah.
But a good problem to have,
Yeah. A good problem to have. Hey, at least you're wanted.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, this has been absolutely awesome. This is like a absolute no-brainer, I think, to add to your marketing mix. Guys, just throw it up there. You just knock it out in a day. And now you're getting, and throw $50 on it a day. And now you're getting consistent Facebook, and you're going to get more deals. Okay. And then I think if you're running a big team, like there's your training program now before you move people up to the big boy Google Ads leads. Start them off on Facebook. And then now you got a nice, way more cost-effective way to go train your people and let them cut their teeth and actually get some deals without it costing you a ton of money while they're learning. So this has been absolutely great, Chris. It's been a pleasure having you on here. It's been a pleasure having you as part of the Facebook community. One of the guys that I learned from way back in the day when I first got started. So guys, check out the link if you guys want to learn more from Chris and really get the exact blueprint, all the photos and descriptions and everything you need to get this rolling. Flipanywhere.com /Robert. I'm going to drop that once more, flipanywhere.com /Robert. Grab it there. I'll also post it on the Facebook group, the InvestorLift community underneath. And then Chris, those notes that you have, would you be able to share the Google Drive link with me? And I'll post that on the Facebook group, or you could just put it right under the announcement yourself if you want.
I'll do that. I'll remove, there's a couple links I got to remove because they just go directly to my business manager and you guys won't be able to access it, but I will do that today. So the video is live, so I could just go and you want me to put a comment or just send it to you? What's the best way?
You just put it on, we'll put it on the Facebook. You just send it to me. I'll post it on the Facebook group.
I'll send it to you in the next few minutes.
Love it. Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank
you
so much,
guys.
for
I appreciate
joining.
it.
Thank you, Chris. This has been absolutely awesome. I'm sure everyone did. Thanks, guys.